I guess we could call it the first winter storm for the interior Northeast is starting to pull away, but we still have some heavy rain and some snow going on in New England. That's going to last for a little while longer. Shot of cold air to follow, and then a shot of even colder air to follow. The coldest of the season coming in for Thursday night through Friday night. We will, of course, discuss this all in such incredible detail that you will be just stunned. I mean, just stunned by it all. And and who are the stunners? Well, it's Joe and Joe of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast very easily, very simply. You do your holiday shopping on Amazon. Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you one dime. So if you're going to shop on Amazon, use our referral link. And that's a good way of showing support because it helps to keep the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, the live version of it, commercial free. And for the weather geek in your life, or maybe you are the weather geek in your life, Tempest by WeatherFlow, the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Easy to install, runs on solar power. You can put it up just about anywhere. Runs off your mobile device unless you want a display, and you can get one of those too. And you'll be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet, Joe Rayo. And speaking of
Yes.
Joe Rayo, he has this secret coupon code that you can use with the link that's pinned at the top of the chat board, or it's on the descriptor to this podcast. And that coupon code is
Autumn 2025, although I must say that from your area down in Georgia all the way up here, it was a lot more wintry than autumn
oh
like on
oh
this Tuesday, the 2nd of December.
well, what joyous thing happens if they use the coupon code?
They will get a whopping 10% off anything that they purchase from Tempest, including one of those wonderful weather stations. So, how can you pass on a deal like that, especially so close to Christmas?
That's right. Do you know what I have tonight, Joe?
You had a miserable day.
Well, I no, I mean it's still miserable here. It is 36 here in North Georgia. Did not get out of the 30s today. It was an on and off cold rain all day long, and it's still going on. I mean, really, people think you're going to live down in the South and that the weather somehow is glorious and warm. Not here. I will tell you that. The winters here are not that much different from what they have in the Northeast. I do have snow amounts, however, thanks to the wonderful National Weather Service. If you ever use this, if you've never used this, folks, this is really a great site. I'll put the link up on the chat board just a minute. I mean, you can just pretty much take any geography and get 24-hour snowfall amounts. And I'm looking here, Joe, in northeastern Pennsylvania, where places like Hawley, Pennsylvania, got 7.2 inches. There's an 8 in Narrowsburg. I've been to Narrowsburg, and it's pretty narrow. 8 inches there. I mean, generally like 5, 6, 7 inch amounts were pretty common there. In northern New Jersey, if you were west of 287 and mostly north really of Route 78, anywhere from an inch to as much as 3.5 inches in Kittatinny Lake, New Jersey. I didn't even knew there was a Kittatinny Lake. 3.6 inches there. West Wantage, which is a place that gets snow a lot, 2.3, 2.5 in Sussex. And then you go into Orange County, and there were generally 2.5 to 3.5 inches. Middletown just got under 4. And Wurtsboro, Joe, Wurtsboro got 5 inches. And then we can move up into the land of the Catskills. Jefferson, New York, Jeffersonville, 8. Callicoon Center, New York, 8. Phoenicia, 12. 10, actually, Joe, 10 miles west-northwest of downtown Phoenicia got 12. And up the Hudson Valley, in and around the Albany area, actually did quite well. Albany, Schenectady, looks like 6 to 10 fell. I mean, these are the reported measurements so far. And in Massachusetts, across Massachusetts, basically 4 to 6. but you had to be west of the 495, mostly west of. Actually, some places even to the east of that, picking up 2 and 3 inches. It's a little bit odd how the range snow line sort of set up, and plus, again, there might be some missing stuff. And where it's still snowing up in parts of New Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, it's basically 2 to 4, 2 to 5 so far. But Augusta's got 4.1. We've got Portland with about 2 inches there, and Lewiston, Maine has about 4. But they got more to go here. But on the whole, I think this thing pretty much performed as advertised.
Yes, and I think we should give a nice little round of applause to the NAM. I think the NAM did the best out of all the models with this. That, going back to the weekend when we were seeing the global models pushing this storm more to the south, offshore, and keeping us colder and creating a broader and heavier type of snowfall for much of the Northeast, even suggesting that New York City might see some accumulations. But the NAM, from the get go, kept saying no, the boundary temperatures are going to be too warm. It's going to warm up. Anybody who gets snow in the tri state area, you're going to be seeing a changeover to sleet, ice, and eventually plain rain. And that's exactly what happened here. Here in Putnam Valley, we picked up about an inch to an inch and a half of slushy snow. Then along about 11:30 or noontime, it changed right over to rain. Temperature didn't get up a whole heck of a lot above freezing, but it was enough to melt off the snow that scraped away earlier in the morning, and so it was a modest snowfall, a cheap thrill if you were a snow lover. But and again, it's only the second day of meteorological winter, and I'm sure more to come in the days and weeks ahead of us.
Oh, no question. Just kind of looking again at some of these snow amounts in northwest Connecticut, 3 inches there. Even northwestern Fairfield County picked up a couple of inches. I'm noticing that temperatures are starting to drop a little, and we're probably not that far away from getting numbers below freezing. In fact, a lot of the Hudson Valley, like Newburgh, for example, Montgomery, where it's snowing there, light snow being reported, have settled near the freezing mark. And once the slow gets out a little bit further to the east, cold air is going to come in and we'll be down in the 20s. So I imagine that there are going to be slick spots that are going to develop during the overnight.
Well, I would suspect that the National Weather Service maybe later tonight, maybe they should do it now, but sometime overnight, they'll probably issue some kind of a special weather statement and saying exactly what you just said, that there could be slick spots, maybe a bit of black ice, be extra careful on the roadways tomorrow morning en route to work and school, which, by the way, neither my daughter or my son had classes today, and there was a little bit of a day off for them. I'm sure they'll be back tomorrow, however, because it looks like it's going to be a bright, sunny day and temperatures approaching 40, so there'll be a bit of melting of whatever's still on the ground out there tonight.
Welcome, everybody, on the chat board tonight. And those of you who are lurking in the background, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. I put that snow map link up on the chat board, by the way, for those of you who are interested. Take a look at it and save it. Thanks for being here tonight. Hope you had a easy enough day with everything that was going on. We are here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. No changes in the schedule and the offing for the rest of this week. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, by all means, hit the like button. So shall we get going here?
Yes, we should, I think.
Okay.
I think quick straw.
Okay. Well, we still have winter storm warnings up, and they are up in southern Maine. Advisories to the northern counties, except the far northern Maine is not getting involved in this. Winter storm warnings continue in the southern half of New Hampshire and Vermont, a good chunk of Massachusetts away from the eastern part of the state, and also some counties east of Albany near the Vermont and Massachusetts state line. We've got winter weather advisories just to the south of that into northern Connecticut. I mean, gradually these are going to get whittled away. We also have some winter weather advisories in the mountains of southwest PA and into West Virginia. Also, winter weather advisories up in a number of counties in Colorado, as well as up into Montana. And in between, not much. I should point out, by the way, that this storm system, we were talking yesterday about how widespread the winter weather advisories were, basically from eastern Kansas all the way up into New England, either winter weather advisories or winter storm warnings or whatever they had up. But there was a solid 2 to 4, 3 to 6 inch snowfall again throughout much of the Ohio Valley and the Middle Mississippi River Valley into the lower, the southernmost part of the Great Lakes there in and around Chicago. I mean, this is basically the third event that they've had in about the last 7 or 8 days. I wonder whether that's the pattern this winter, Joe, because usually when you start to see where these snow events are occurring, they tend to rhyme at least as long as the pattern holds the same. So that seems to be the hot spot so far. And here's the surface map as of 4 p.m. The low was down to a 998 and centered, a fair distance off the coast of Delaware. But again, enough warm air was able to get into the coastal plain in order to keep it rain at the coast. But the colder air was also wedged in through areas inland. So that helped them out. And this system is starting to intensify rather quickly with rapid pressure falls occurring in eastern Massachusetts and in coastal Maine. And that's where all the big precip is. And you can take a look on the satellite loop. The storm is really kind of moving along. And the presentation on the satellite's pretty impressive. The bright white cloud tops there, the higher cloud tops all offshore. And now we've got colder air coming in behind this, and that is ahead of what will probably be the coldest air mass of the season so far. That should arrive sometime late Thursday, begin to arrive sometime late Thursday, and bottom out Friday morning across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. We're talking single digits to near zero in parts of upstate New York.
It's going to be a cold one, no question. And when the cold front that's going to usher in this cold Arctic air is due to move through here during the day on Thursday, and even though when you look at the probability of precipitation values for both the NAM and also for the GFS, and they are like in the single digits, indicating, and there's really no chance. Don't fully go into that or believe that, because it's a pretty good trough that will be rolling across the Northeast and ushering in that colder air. And it would not be surprising if we did see a couple of snow flurries or snow showers, or maybe even some snow squall activity to cross through with the passage of that cold front. Then the winds will really begin to pick up out of the northwest later Thursday and into Thursday night, ushering in or driving in that much colder air that'll settle in time for the end of the week on Friday and Thursday night. And Thursday night, the coldest night we've seen yet, with temperatures in some areas approaching 10 degrees up in the Hudson Valley. That's certainly a possibility. And Friday, a cold one with temperatures struggling just to get out of the 20s.
I got the map up here. These are the forecast low temperatures Friday morning throughout much of upstate New York and into central and northern New England. You got to realize, folks, that for Friday is the 5th of December. To see numbers down close to zero, and even in some cases, if you go up north of Albany and into the Adirondacks, where we're looking at we're looking at single digit below zero numbers. This is really cold stuff for early December. And you go further south, we're talking single digits. And remember, a lot of these areas up here have a snow cover that's not going to go away between now and Friday, clearly. And we've got single digits in northeastern Pennsylvania. We've got barely double digits coming into northern New Jersey and into areas in the Hudson Valley, just north of you, Joe. Looks like they have a low of about 10 at Poughkeepsie. And then just north of that, we got a 6 and a 9. teens for Long Island, teens for New Jersey, teens getting all the way down into Northern Virginia and also into Western Virginia, and 20s as you head further south into North Carolina. So, I mean, this is a really impressive shot of low level cold air. And actually, if you follow the long range over the last week or 10 days, people, folks were talking about that the polar vortex and the stretching of the polar vortex pretty much telegraphed this last week that something, of consequence in terms of a cold surge was going to come in. And sure enough, we're seeing it. And by the way, that cold air goes all the way back to the Great Lakes, where we're looking at temperatures in the single digits and even some below zero readings forecast for Friday morning. So it does in early December to see numbers like this, you have to be amazed by it because this is way below average.
It is, no question about it. And if you think that this is cold, looking ahead to next week, it looks like we've got another surge of cold air, and that second surge next week might even be colder than what we're going to be looking at for Thursday and Friday.
Is this starting to remind you of December of '89?
Uh, Actually, when you're talking about how cold it is for the month of December, for whatever reason, I was thinking back to 1976. The winter of 76, 77 was a bitter cold winter. And I remember that in the middle part of December of 1976, it was so cold. How cold was it? It was so cold that in upstate New York, I think places like Messina, New York, even with sunshine, didn't even get above zero for a high temperature that
Yeah.
day. So we have seen it get very cold in December and other years. 89 is another uh, fair example of that. In fact, 89 in New York City, I think the average temperature that month was one of the coldest average temperatures of any month. It was a bitterly cold month of December, and everybody said, "Oh, this is going to be a horrible winter in terms of it's going to be so cold and everything." And as soon as we flipped over into the new year, 1990, boom, January, February, and March were warm,
Yep.
relatively speaking. So you never can tell. Sometimes you don't want to see it get this cold so early in the season.
Well, patterns, I don't necessarily, I never really bought that idea. It's not like there's a limited pool of cold air, and if you use it all up in a certain time, patterns just it's whatever the pattern and how the patterns shape up. And we've had winters where it's been, if you look at the winter of 13, 14, which was basically from December right through March, it was below normal pretty, fairly consistently. We had a lot of snow in that particular winter. Sometimes the cold patterns are expanded over long periods of time. Other times they're short windows in what might primarily be a warmer pattern. So, they come when they come. That's kind of how I look at it. And when you got them, that's when you think that if there's some storm, some storminess around, that maybe you can take advantage of that from the standpoint of cold air. Look at what's going on the radar tonight. Take a look at Boston and over the Cape. They're getting clobbered with some really heavy rain right now.
Yeah, that fortunate. I think much of the tri-state area avoided that. We did get some rain and some significant rain during the afternoon, but the really heavy duty stuff, as you point out, stayed pretty well just to the south and to the east. And you're right, Cape Cod and the islands right now getting clobbered with quite a bit of that heavy rainfall.
Yeah, it is. There might be some thunder going on in here, and part of it, I think what's happening is you're seeing, that as I said earlier, they're getting 2 and 3 millibar pressure falls an hour going on here in southeastern New England. So this low is intensifying pretty rapidly, bombing out as we would say, and you're probably seeing some thunderstorms, maybe some lightning and thunder there over the Cape. Not a whole lot going on over the rest of the country. We've got some light snows up through Minnesota and North Dakota, and then also back up into parts of Montana and Colorado and into Utah. The West Coast is quiet. I'm not showing anything on the radar here in the Southeast, but I can tell you that um, because of where I am in the mountains, We have a lot of low clouds, and there's still some light rain around, and that temperature is now down to 35. So I just wanted to clear out and have some sunshine tomorrow because it was just horrible, just miserable. Next 7 days, in terms of precipitation, doesn't look like a whole lot. We're looking at basically a tenth to maybe a quarter of an inch over the next 7 days. You're seeing what you see in southeastern New England is left. A lot of that's left is what's going on now for another half inch of liquid before it pulls out, and Nova Scotia getting into some pretty hefty precip, which is really good. And also because we have a couple of waves moving across the southern states, we're seeing inch and a half plus rain amounts being indicated from southeast Texas eastward through central and southern Georgia and into South Carolina. Also seeing some half to inch to an inch plus amounts in the central Rockies and up to 2 to 2.5 inches up in parts of Idaho. They're probably going to get bombed with snow up there in the northern Rockies and some heavy rain over into the Pacific Northwest. Scott Briller, the chairman, thank you for hitting the tip jar, Scott. Most appreciated. And just talk about what we've been doing with the Briller Jeopardy with the uh, 24-hour snowfall ending for participating in Briller Jeopardy's longest category, 24-hour snowfalls ending tonight. Tonight's the last night of the 24-hour snowfalls in the highest in various states. In fact, we took you through all the states around the country. So here's our low, intensifying, wrapping up, moving out, shot of colder air behind it, wait for the cold front. And here's this high, 10:35-ish high. Yeah, I think you could throw in the chance that there could be a snow shower or maybe even a brief snow squall on Thursday when that front goes by. And then the cold air on strong north winds come Thursday afternoon into Friday morning. The high settles on the coast. Now, here's the thing. There is a little disturbance. You see it there in Texas. Another wave is coming out. And the European wants to push up some snow into Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware, New Jersey, light snow, and into southeastern New York sometime during Friday and Friday night, and before it gets shoved out to the east. The GFS is much more suppressed to the south, so we'll see where this goes. I mean, I would like to think that with all this cold air and the way the trough is set up in the east, that this thing may wind up going further south than anything else. And as you said, yeah,
we might have snow that shows up on the radar
it doesn't
Friday
reach the
evening,
ground.
and it never reaches the ground. Correct. That's
That
because
is
it's such a
possible.
cold, dry air now. Yeah.
We've got energy in the west coming in, bringing some snow into the Rockies, where they haven't really seen very much of this winter so far. And as you said, Joe, as we go into next week, looks like another cold high is coming down. Uh, Actually, it kind of starts around Sunday, where we see high pressure basically spreading out across the northern plains all the way to southeastern Canada. And then there's like a little disturbance in the northwest flow that dives southeastward on Tuesday of next week. And then that goes out. And then another disturbance dives southeastward with some snow on Thursday of next week. So there's some little. Here's where you got to be a little careful, I think, for next week. And it's down. It's obviously in the longer term. You do have this northwest flow and troughing in the east, and there are these little ripples, these little short waves that are coming along. I've got the upper air on the screen now, and sometimes those things can surprise with a quick inch or two, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, something like that. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this. And the models may or may not have a handle on just how strong these things are, or maybe they're overdone. But my point is that with the northwest flow as strong like this, and things coming down from western Canada and just sort of diving southeastward, you could have a shot here for maybe one of these to produce a light accumulating snow as it goes by. But I think you're right. I mean, overall, the pattern going into the middle of the month remains cold.
And I was looking back at forecasts that I posted on Facebook from a week ago. Just before Thanksgiving, and looking ahead to today, Tuesday, and all I had for Tuesday was a chance for some showers and turning chillier. It wasn't until after Thanksgiving or around Thanksgiving and thereafter I injected or introduced the possibility for frozen precipitation. But before then, I didn't see much of a chance of any kind of frozen precip. I just had colder weather and a chance for some showers. So here we are. We're talking about next week with the cold air, and you're right. Depending upon where systems go and how deeply they get into the cold air, it could very well be some shots of snow. Not nothing heavy, nothing dramatic, nothing earth shattering, but maybe a few inches here, several inches there. We'll see. It looks like for those of you who remember the Decembers of the last several years, where we were there was a paucity. There's a $5 word for you. A lack of any kind of cold air to work with to make any snow. You got the cold air. Now we just have to see how these various disturbances interact and see whether or not we do get some snow, starting with the next potential, which comes again, as Joe mentioned, on Friday night.
By the way, we oftentimes, when we look at these things in the long range and we see that there's a big storm out at 300 hours, and of course, that sets the that sets social media on fire with people putting up snow maps. But I just wanted to point this out because I know it'll probably not be there in the next run. But if you, this is the 384-hour, Joe, on the GFS tonight. You see that high? You see that high that is sitting there up in what is that, Alberta or Manitoba?
Right.
It's a 1065 high.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a brutal air mass that that's the model is showing. Again, it's probably going to be gone in the next run, or it'll be something much weaker. It'll be in a different place, whatever it is. But I just kind of saw this today. When I saw this earlier this evening, and I was just sort of, one of those jaw-dropping moments. I just want to see, just for laughs, what kind of temperatures it's generating out of this. And so this is, by the way, Thursday, December 18th. Okay, the 384 hours. I want to go back to the morning, just the 12Z. So actually, the temperatures up there, as the highs coming down, are falling as the day goes on, because at 12Z, it's uh, I see the 15-degree isotherm in northern Missouri, the 10-degree isotherm in Iowa, the 5-degree isotherm in Minnesota, and the 0 in northern North Dakota and northern Minnesota. And if we go to 18Z, okay, yeah, I mean, they barely move. And you start to see highs of minus, below zero highs starting to penetrate into North Dakota and just north of the Canadian border. So, I mean, this is a really, and that's, again, a pretty impressive cold air mass for December. You don't see 1065 highs that often. But once again, before somebody says that I'm talking about stuff at 384 hours, I'm not talking about a snowstorm here. I'm talking about a big high. So, and the second thing is, again, more than likely, I mean, the model's not more than likely, darn likely, that subsequent runs will have it weaker, or they have it in a different spot, or whatever it is. But I just kind of like to look at those numbers and just marvel at a pressure like that.
Well, this climate prediction center is kind of saying that in the eastern part of the country, especially in the Great Lakes in the Northeast, it's going to be well below normal. But meanwhile, the West is going to be enjoying warm weather. So I guess if you want warmth or unseasonably mild air, I guess you'd have to go west of the Mississippi to get it. Meanwhile, in this part of the country, at least through mid-December, it's going to be pretty darn cold.
That's correct. I think I have Briller Jeopardy tonight.
Yes, I had it last night, so I guess you have it, unless somebody else out there has it, but I don't
No, I
think
have
there's
it.
any. Yep,
I have
okay.
it, and you know what, Joe? I'm going to let you have it. You
You're
ready?
going to let me have it?
Yes. And you may get it real soon. Okay, so here we go. These are the last of the bunch. So we're in the W's. And here we go. So again, to remind everybody, the 24-hour snowfall, the record. So the category is the greatest 24-hour snowfall, and we've been going through each state. And today we start off with the state of Washington. The state of
Oh,
Washington.
give me a break. Come on. Well, first of all, we know in Washington there's the Cascade Mountains, which get like what? Hundreds and hundreds of inches of
Hundreds.
snow.
Right.
I
They
mean,
put up winter weather advisories for 24 to 36 inches. They don't even
exactly.
bother with winter storm warnings for those things.
Exactly. So, I mean, what ridiculous number or figure might we?
Well,
I'm going to make the assumption. I'll make the assumption right off the bat that that is where the most snow is falling, unless the chairman has found some other place. But I think it had to be somewhere in the Cascades. I don't know. I'll take a guess and say 65.
oh my God. And you and Patrick Darcy at 65 hit it right on the nose.
Really?
Yeah, 65.
Oh,
Crystal
hey.
Mountain, Washington.
See, I was just thinking also about you know when you arrive at the age for Medicare,
All right.
65. You know.
All right. Next, we have the great state of West Virginia. West Virginia. Not to be confused with Western Virginia, folks. West Virginia.
Uh, they're pretty. That's a pretty mountainous state. In fact, I don't know of any spot where in West Virginia which is probably lower than 1,000 feet. Um, I will say. I will say. What am I going to say? uh, I'll say 34.
You know, if you had gotten this on the nose, I would have said go out and stop the show right now and go out and buy a lot. Go do a quick pick or something on the lotto. Um,
Really?
you did miss it, but you didn't miss it by much, I will tell you. And Frank Scalera didn't miss it by much the other way by saying 38. Okay. So 34 on one side, 38 on the other would
Might it be
suggest
36?
that Mike Waterhouse Bonsai is always on top. He figures out the math right away. 36. 36.
There you go, Mike. There's your dingy dingy.
And in honor of Dick Tracy, it was in Flat Top, Virginia.
Flat top.
VDI's in Flat Top, remember?
Sometimes, sometimes when I wash my hair and I blow it out the wrong way, and Renata will come out and she said, "What the hell is that?" She said, "You look like flat top."
But did the Flat Top, did that cartoon character, you see, did it talk like Peter Lorre?
Yes, I remember that on the cartoon. Peter,
Yeah,
it had a Peter Lorre type voice.
yeah, exactly. Okay, next is the cheese state, Wisconsin.
Um, the cheese. Well, they could get lake effect, I guess, right? And if the wind blows a certain way in parts of Wisconsin, they can get a.
Hmm.
Um, but you see, up in the western lakes, synoptically speaking, I mean, they don't get too many big, humongous,
Lake effect.
snowfalls or whatever. But
Well, the ones that are on the east that come off the east facing shore of Lake Michigan, it's not often that they don't get the right wind often. And then so you have to look at maybe on the go further north, but the Upper Peninsula of Michigan lies above that, so that probably cuts off. The lake effect snows come in, but they don't go all the way. They go. They're only going to get so far south. But
Okay. Well, I'll say, I'm not going to go overboard here. I'll say 28.
yeah, once again, you're doing so well tonight. Very, very close. Rich Rothmansky nailed it though. 26 in
20.
Neilsville. 26 in Neilsville, Wisconsin. Now, I would have thought that it would have been a higher number, considering some of the higher numbers that we're seeing. But
That's for
thank
you,
God the
Rich.
bell is working. By the way. Okay. The
Yes.
next one, and actually the last one, is Wyoming. Wyoming.
They're the Rockies, aren't they?
Yeah.
Gene Shepard, the great humorist who for many years was on WOR radio. I listened to him like almost every night. He was a great. Sometimes he tells stories. He told a story once about being trapped in Wyoming during a blizzard, and he referred to it as a Wyoming screamer. So I'm going to make the assumption that they get big snowfalls out there. Maybe not quite as big as Washington, but I don't know. I'm going to go, Joe. I'm going to use Mr. G's favorite number, double nickels, 55.
Well, you lost me. Um, Actually, it was a good guess, but not the right guess. But again, you've been getting some pretty good guesses here. 10R0966. I know YouTube's adding. I wish they would make up their minds with how they want the handles are going to show up on the chat board. They're changing them all the time. 10R0966 52 at Windy Peak, Wyoming.
Wow. So I wasn't so far off. I'm what, 3 inches or 3 nickels? Not even 3 nickels.
Yeah, I know. You were only off by
3 cents.
three. And
I
there
was
is a
3 cents.
bonus tonight. There is a bonus. What was Atlantic City's biggest December snowfall?
December snowfall.
Yes. And how much?
Well, I'll take a guess. I'll take a guess and say that if it was a December snowfall, I'll just take a wild guess and say it was the December 12th, 1960 snowstorm that Dan mentioned with his book about a week or so ago. I don't know that was a pretty massive snowstorm. I'll say 20 inches.
You for Frank R2130. And I'll give it to the ones that Jesse Winslow also, and we'll also give it to Magnolia AP and CWTR Shark saying 21. So did Christinapedia, but the others got it right. The answer is 20. Actually, it's 20.1, but 20's. I'll take 20. And the date?
I said December of 1960. Was
No.
that it, or
No.
was it the Boxing Day storm?
Yes.
Okay. So Jesse
December. So
Winslow.
if you said December 26, 2010, the Boxing Day storm, correct. And there you have it.
Okay.
So, anyhow, I think we could wrap it up here. We can take a breather, and we'll be back tomorrow, right here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast at 7:35 p.m. To see what may or may not happen for the end of the week and going into the weekend.
Well, we'll be here. I'll be here. I'll be here. Just make sure
you're here. I'm just trying to remember I got to go back on YouTube and look it up to see what Flat Top used to say.
Well, I'm sure you could probably find. I mean, all of those Dick Tracy cartoons are now banned because they're deemed politically incorrect. But I'm sure they're on YouTube somewhere.
Well, they're banned on regular television, but nobody watches regular television anymore.
Go on
Um,
YouTube and type in Dick Tracy,
no, I'm
comma,
doing that.
flat
I'm
top.
actually doing that right now.
Okay.
Flat top. Let's see. Uh, there was a TV show version of Dick Tracy in 1950. And it's an episode of the Dick Tracy radio show featuring Flat Top, and it was titled Flat Top. Oh, here's the cartoon. Right, and he always went around with BB eyes. It was BB
Yeah.
eyes and Flat Top.
Right.
Hey, BB Eyes, who's the character in the one room with specs? Relax, Flat Top. This hotel's full of characters.
Oh, wait, this is hysterical.
Hey,
This is
BB
really
Eyes, who's
hilarious.
the character in the one room with specs? Relax, Flat
Well,
Top.
we can't
This
hear it. I
hotel's
can't
full
hear
of...
it.
Is there any?
Hey, BB Eyes, who's the character in the one room with specs? Relax, Flat Top. This hotel's full of characters. Hey,
Was that hilarious or what?
I can't hear or anything
Oh, you
sure
couldn't
hearing
hear
you.
it, but I'm sure the folks on
No.
the chat board had to hear it.
Hmm.
That to me was just hilarious. Uh, hold on, that's what the cartoon character Flat Top looked like, and the guy he was talking to was doing his best Edward G. Robinson. Yeah, the frog, see? Yeah. Oh, good God. You see, folks, you younger folks that are out there, this is the kind of stuff that we grew up with. Okay, those in the days where people had a sense of humor. So there you go. Because today
I
nobody has a
just
sense.
realized
Everybody's so touchy today. Nobody has a sense of humor anymore.
I just realized that I'm going to miss something that I've been following for weeks and weeks and weeks.
And what's that?
On Sirius XM, there is the Radio Classics channel. I think channel 148, and I'm addicted now. On Wednesdays at 12:30, they are playing the radio version of Superman. Superman on radio was played by Bud Collyer, who was the host of To Tell the Truth and Beat the
Yes.
Clock. And they've been running. This is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be part 23 or something of Superman versus Kryptonite. And the thing is that Kryptonite is being introduced to Superman by a crooked politician. I'm not going to mention the name, but I will tell you this, and this is very, very funny to me. The crooked politician, the name of the crooked politician in the radio version from the 1940s has the exact same name as a politician in the Hudson Valley. And so I'm wondering whether or not the guy in the Hudson Valley has ever been asked the question, has anybody ever associated you with the Superman radio show from the 1940s or whatever? But
Oh,
the interesting thing about this whole thing about the kryptonite was invented by the people who did the radio show because Bud Collyer wanted 2 weeks off, but they couldn't figure out a way to get rid of him for 2 weeks. So they came up with this situation where he was exposed to kryptonite and got very weak or whatever like that. And what about Superman? He remains weak in the whatever. This way he was not able. He didn't have to say anything.
gotcha. Oh God, too funny. All right, we got to go. Scott, thanks to Scott Briller for hitting super chat. By the way, most appreciated, and thanks everybody for being here. We'll see you tomorrow night. Nighty night.
Yeah, Harry.
Ah.